Before the churches, Britain belonged to the old magic, to the hags in the water and the witches on the hill, to the dead man's hand that opens any door. They told these tales to frighten children. The trouble is, the children grew up, and the magic never left. 9 spells tonight. Mind you do not break them.
Granny Bell told me about a cave in the Dane Hills of Leicester. The mothers there used to say her name to keep children inside. Black Annis, Blue Face, Iron Claws, one single eye. She lived in a cave she had dug out herself with her own hands. At night, she crept down across the fields toward the cottages. She would reach in through unshuttered windows for whatever was sleeping inside. The skins of the children she took were hung in the oak above her cave. The cave was called Black Annis Bower. It was filled in by builders in 1941, but the oak tree, the locals say, stood a long time after, and the wind through its branches sounded like a woman counting. Granny Bell told me what lives in the ponds of Lancashire. The mothers there call her Jenny Greenteeth, pale green skin, long arms, teeth like a pike. She waits beneath the duckweed on the still water. Children who lean too close are taken under without a sound. The duckweed closes over them the same as before. In 1959, a boy named Harold went missing at Marton Mere. They dragged the pond for 3 days and found nothing. His cap was floating in the reeds the next morning. The duckweed around it had been parted by a small green hand. Granny Bell told me about the little man who ruled the mists in Lincolnshire, the Fens, black water and reed beds, flat to the horizon, drowned in white fog. The old folk called him the Tiddy Mun, no taller than a child, grey as the mist. When the floods rose and the water crept toward their doors, they went out at dusk. They poured fresh water into the marsh and called his name into the dark. And the little man would raise his arms, and the mists would roll back off the land. Then the engineers drained the fens, and no one left him his offering. That winter the fevers came, the cattle sickened, and children were taken in the night. They had broken the old bargain, and the Tiddy Mun had not forgotten. The fens are quiet fields now, but the mist still gathers, and something still watches it lift. Granny Bell told me about the old woman who makes the winter in Scotland. The Highlands. The first storm comes down off the peaks, and the gale turns to ice. They call her the Cailleach, a towering hag with a blue-grey face and wild white hair. She is older than the mountains. They say she built them, dropping stones from her creel. When summer ends, she takes up her staff and walks the high ridges in the snow. Where she strikes the ground, frost races across the heather and freezes the lochs white. All winter she rules the land, hard and cold, until spring at last drives her back. Then she drinks from a secret well and turns young again. A standing stone watches the frozen glen, shaped almost like a hooded woman. When the first hard frost bites your face on the hill, that is her hand. She has returned. Granny Bell told me about a Yorkshire well that turns things to stone. Deep in a wood by the River Nid, water trickles down a mossy cliff. Hang anything beneath it and wait, and it slowly crusts over with grey stone. A teddy bear, a boot, a top hat, a kettle, all half living and half rock. They say a witch was born in a cave beside it in 1488. Mother Shipton, who foretold the fire of London and the fall of kings. Look into the pool while it drips, and some have seen her hooded shape behind them. For 400 years the village swore it was cursed. Only minerals in the water, they will tell you. Still, no one stays after dark. Visit today, and at the edge you will find a coin turned entirely to stone. Granny Bell told me about a king who was turned to stone in Oxfordshire. The Rollright stones, a ring of grey rocks on a low hill, older than England itself. A king marched here with his army to take the whole country. A witch met him on the rise. 7 long strides, she said, and the crown is yours. He took them. The ground swallowed his view, and her curse came down. She turned the king and every man behind him to cold standing stone. They say you cannot count the stones twice and get the same number. They say on certain nights the stones stir and step down to drink from the spring. One rock still wears a face, worn smooth by the weather. Go and count them yourself. Just don't expect the total to hold. No one who counts the stones twice the same is ever seen in the village again. Near Little Salkeld, in Cumbria, 60-odd grey stones stand in a ring on the cold fell, and the tallest, red as a wound, they call Long Meg. She was a witch, they say, and those are her daughters, caught dancing on the Sabbath and turned to stone where they spun. Folk go up at dusk to count them. They walk the circle once, then again, and the number never lands the same. Some laugh, some count a third time, slower, and stop laughing. For the old warning is plain, count them true, twice over, and the binding breaks. The stones soften, the dancing starts again. A man tried, last winter. He reached the same number twice. They found his coat on the fell, but no one who counts the stones is ever seen again. Granny Bell told me about 2 girls in Yorkshire who photographed the fairies. Elsie was 16, Frances was 9. The beck ran behind their cottage in Cottingley. The first picture was taken in July 1917. 5 winged figures dancing on a bank. Arthur Conan Doyle published them. The whole country believed. 65 years later, both women confessed. The fairies were paper, pinned with hat pins. But Frances kept one thing back, even at the end. The 5th photograph, she said, was not staged. She said she saw them, in the grass the day the shutter clicked. She would not say what they looked like. The beck at Cottingley is still there. Children still go down to the water. Granny Bell told me about a candle in Yorkshire, made from a hanged man's hand. They called it the Hand of Glory, cut at dawn, cured in salt, wrapped in winding cloth. Burglars would carry it before them, lit into sleeping houses. While the hand burned, no one in the house could wake. The candle would not be put out by water. It would not be put out by milk. Only fresh, whole milk would douse it. A maid in Stainmore beat off 2 burglars with a jug of cream in 1797. The hand they left behind is at the Whitby Museum. 5 fingers, blackened, still curved. You can see it any day of the week.
9 pieces of the old magic. Some of it is asleep, some of it is only waiting. A new tale waits for you every day, if you dare to keep listening. The old magic remembers your name.